This process starts in 2018, putting a cybercrime bill together. It starts in 2018 for very obvious reasons. Government gets a responsibility, a duty for protecting citizens.
And for me, and I mentioned in my piece, throughout that bill, there's no mention of the right to freedom of expression. That right, say, for let journalists impart information. That right, say, for let journalists all information confidentially and disseminate information as well. So waiting fails spectacularly in my view, now that this bill not strike that balance between right and regulation. And as a human rights scholar, I've made this point severally, that any time we can to regulate rights, the right not for suffer after the regulation, the right for continue for be supreme.
Inside the program, when they look at the Cybercrime Act, where the Ministry of Information and Communication, they don't care in a parliament, but some activists them don't raise concern, but I'm say it's not good for the country if parliament turn on law. And self this BNTMOC outside the Sierra Leone Association of Journalists Lodge, where now the body were responsible for look after journalists their welfare, they self be raise concern say the ministry not be involved them during the term when they put together this bill, and we see they be engage the Minister of Information and Communication will be make some clarifications them. Well, we can look inside this bill today. Now make na the studio we get the Secretary General for the Sierra Leone Association of Journalists Lodge, when I ask me Uba. Good morning, Mr. Ba, and welcome again to the program.
Thank you very much, Khadija.
And also we get a lawyer, we na an activist, Augustine Sori Sembe Mara. Himself now one party activists that will see don't make several publications about this bill and get some concern them where it raise inside the various publications them where it don't make. Good morning, Mr. Mara, and welcome again to the program.
Good morning, Khadija, and good morning, people of Sierra Leone.
And of course, we get the Minister of Information and Communication when they draft the bill. Now the ministry they own this bill and in the possible be crank on a parliament. They go there and they for the lawmaker them go watch inside. Good morning, Mr. Minister, and welcome again at the program.
Yes, good morning, good morning. I'm glad for there.
All right, if people can remember this BNTM, the Minister of Information and Communication, Mohamed Rahman Souare, been go lay in a parliament the proposed Cybercrime Bill 2020 for make member of parliament them go look inside this bill, debate them before then turn them to law. MP then be start for look inside them, but later the Speaker, Honorable Dr. Cherno Abbas Bundu, been send this bill back and he asked the minister for go all consultation and sensitize people about the thing them where they inside this bill, where we make parliament start saying they not be able to pass the bill and then we send them back. Well, let we start with the Minister of Information and Communication. Let it give a background as to how the ministry be able for draft this bill and decide for Krangona Parliament, Mr. Minister.
Yes. Morning, Khadija. Family, morning. I'm glad for there this morning. First, one for commend Parliament, where they ask a lot of deepening and broadening consultations around the bill. I commend them very much. I not ever know say this bill gets so much interest, But unfortunately, and this is not something about our country. This bill, not to say somebody sit down, the comfort or convenience of a home, it put them together. This process starts in 2018, putting a cybercrime bill together. It starts in 2018 for very obvious reasons. Government gets a responsibility, a duty for protecting citizens. Back in the days where we not get digital technologies, na traditional way no more police there under. But now we talk about the age of the internet superhighway, right? So government their responsibility don't extend. If for protecting citizens both on and offline. And the reason why we as government we think that this is very, very important. Now for the reason say we population, beaucoup people in our population are youth man. between the ages of 18 35. Now the large chunk of the population na they ide. And this population here, they're born in then there with digitalization they go on. So most of them logged on to one social media platform or the other, if not to Facebook, WhatsApp, Twitter, some kind of social media interaction they would happen, or they do telephone calls or something. We think say any responsible government for take time for protect that category of people there and all other users of ICT equipment. So the idea of this bill come out. And we all on the Naya Salon. I don't hear few people then they say we don't need this kind of law now. That's the biggest joke around the world ever heard. Naya been there in 2008 when they talk about drug trafficking, thing like that. Yeah. Plain land now in 2008 with over 600 kilograms of cocaine. Right? Now only after they not apprehend now, we not get law for child. Now after we begin go all over the place for begin put appropriate laws in place for child and all that thing. So we are saying the best time for do it. In fact, we're supposed to don't do it now. This country will let for do many things. I tell you in 2013, before the fiber cable land under the previous administration, now been part of the requirements and the way the World Bank may ask the previous government for do. For put in place a data protection policy, for put in place an electronic transaction bill, for reviewing the National Telecommunications Bill, and for put in place a cybercrime bill. All lengths in have been part of a package. The reason being, once they land fiber in a country, you are opening up that country there in communication, ICT. So it's going to be part of the bigger digital infrastructure in the world. So you go for protect the citizens. We have been very late in doing that. But even beyond that, we'll be not missing that opportunity. But during that same period, in 2011, for example, former President Nkrumah been signed up to the Malabo Accord. The Malabo Accord, now African heads of states there, now the African Union, now they been signed up to that document there for protect citizens there against cybercrime and for ensure data protection. So that one day, Sierra Leone don't sign up to it. All what it remain now for law we localize her, let we domesticate her. Just a minute, Khadija. People then deserve or know this because I don't see a lot of scaremongering. I don't see a lot of misinformation for very deliberate reasons. Now, Bill, I want to talk about not to politics, which many people have made it look like. So I want to clarify this. Be a small bit. This is public service. So you find out, say, apart from now one day, this government, the previous government did not sign, apart from the Malabo Accord then signed in 2011, the previous government also, right, been signed up to they also signed up to there's also the ECOWAS directives. The ECOWAS directives on cybercrime and data protection. The ECOWAS directives, that's the gold standard for all ECOWAS countries. It's now a directive, so it's enforced. Now many countries who don't lag behind that one day. So apart from the Malabo Accord, we get the ECOWAS directives, all lengths in there, nothing, and the Commonwealth Cyber Declaration of 2018. Odu. So don't talk about three covenants that we don't sign up to, or they go African Union meetings, then the name and shame country that we don't sign up the heads of state they don't go make that signature, we don't can not do nothing but that. So Sierra Leone don't take this bold, audacious step, albeit very late in the day, follow we regulate cyberspace. And what's in that they mean? What then not for nothing with man they call internet superhighway. Then they call them superhighway for various for the simple reason say na highway say for the worker, motorcar then get traffic laws there where they govern it, right? So cyberspace now like real life, it got to be regulated. You don't want jungle rule even in real life. So now they make a law then they for govern people.
Mr. Minister, you don't talk about this cyber bill, what it is about, or when it comes to law. For somebody where they listen now, what are some of the provisions them inside this bill where they protect the citizens them?
Okay, so like I say, I make a need for land this premise very well. Just like what we do in real life, cyberspace na another planet, if you like. People then they live there, people then they communicate there. The same footprints what you get in real life, now then get in cyberspace, right? So law then I have for govern correct conduct, so we'll not go return to law of the jungle. So cyberspace law then they where they govern correct conduct. For example, this lawyer they talk around things like child pornography. Right? Where they in sync with the child rights law. You not go with the pass and parade, picking a naked picture in sexual activity or in anything else. That one day, this law criminalizer, right? A criminalizer.
you talk about the Child Rights Act and pornography, but when you look at Section 26 of the Child Rights Act, you already don't provide protection for the child when you talk about pornography. So how you think say
this is not enhanced provisions then. A lawyer didn't enhanced provisions and this is not digital space, so they talk about regulating digital space.
But if
so
there
for
is,
correct conduct.
if existing law there already, why you think
No,
say
so when you talk to
another
the
law
police, when you talk to the police then, for example, and I have been in touch with them, now when they together in this, now when the law officers, when civil society, now we did together in this. So for sure say this lawyer now enhanced provisions then for protect the beginning right? But so let clear this first bit. I want let Salon people that understand this. For let a paper go through cabinet safe. One of the preconditions we go make cabinet discussion if for show tangible proof say you don't hold consultations for that paper day. So before the cybercrime bill go parliament, before you go cabinet, for example, before we approve and stuff like begin in journey for go parliament, we hold a lot of consultations. We have been in Ethiopia in 2018. I make we then list Salon as one of the countries who be not sign up to the Malabo Accord, who not do nothing. I make a case for Sierra Leone, so they may opt for support we.
So
no, just a minute,
just clarification.
Okay.
If you say you do consultation,
yeah, now there one come, please.
If you say you do consultation, why the Speaker of Parliament send you back with the bill?
Okay, so now they come now.
And we hear from the Sierra Leone Association of Journalists. They state and clearly say the ministry not ever involved them, neither any of the media fraternity.
Okay, so listen to me now. Let me say talk. You don't talk young, Khadija. Today, interesting. I like the conversation today. So, like I said, before cabinet paper, let the debaters, let them put it on the paper, on the program. Then therefore make sure say you don't hold consultations. Indeed, consultations were held. Yes, we bring in the Council of Europe. When a specialized people there under the GLACY Plus program. For can support the government of Sierra Leone for put this law together because it's a specialist legislation. Even the lawyer within here, they will tell you that they not one of the modules that from the college they do, but the law in there. We got extremely brilliant lawyers, but we also understand say this is a specialized legislation. We bring in them people then we had a big conference for a couple of days, all of them funded by our development partners there, not to Salon government put one leon there. People stayed na Radisson Blue, involving law officers, involving some MDA leaders there, involving some civil society leaders there, involving even members of parliament there. They made statements there. And I think so you don't get parliament slightly out of context. What did I mean say? I mean, I have to give this to the leader of the minority party in parliament. I mean, speaker after speaker note say, yes, we don't involve them by this process before. We have consulted. All they ask for, Lord, deepen the engagement, Lord, deepen the consultation process. Indeed, I mean, now, previous thing, political party leaders, they don't go make statements, but then validation sessions there during the draft period. Honorable Cherry Coco, Cherry Majuba, I mean, you have to give it to him, being clear enough. We have held 2 pre-legislative sessions in the parliament for explaining the import of this bill today. So not to say we're not on consult, let nobody not create that impression. We have consulted, but consultations, even after they pass into a law, we still get continue for talk about that.
The question I ask you, Mr. Minister, now that we are concerned from Sludge, say the ministry not ever.
No. What's that answer? Sludge. Yesterday I met with them. I met with them one of them days. Yeah. Sludge, I know say the ministry and then get a great historic relationship with the tribe. We're going to discuss something when a sector specific, exclusively Sludge. Yeah, or for the most part Sludge. Or when they repeal the criminal libel law, or they do the new IMC bill. This was like territory, almost with exclusivity. Now, when on Sunday, they told them, no, wait a minute, Musa, please. I mean, they told them for the most part, or then they told me, we work together on that bill, together, every inch of the way, right?
So why would I left the out?
No, this is not a media bill. This is not a media bill.
But don't they get concerned from
No. So they address the concerns then generally. I say I like the debate.
You look at a particular
not create the impression say we have to talk to Sierra. We need to talk to Sierra Leoneans then generally.
Well, Sludge na Sierra Leone.
No, but let them I don't want the impression say this is a media bill. We don't pull her off. We not tell.
You know they talk about the media or left Sludge as stakeholder them in the media. So if they do consultation, Sludge na a major stakeholder.
Well, so yeah, we don't where they don't discuss the consultation and they go on so and that make we welcome her.
All right.
Now that make we welcome her. We want to ensure that we talk to as many Sierra Leoneans as possible. My team is all over the country now. I will deepen this conversation. Yesterday morning, I've been up for Bay College. I talked to them final year mass communication students there. But many things with the countdown to the 3rd anniversary of President Bill. So I go talk to them about that and will zero in particularly on the cybercrime bill. Right. I don't already meet with the team. Don't meet with civil society leaders like we don't do all the time. Nobody not create the impression so we'll not be non civil society.
We have. It's very much important we come to the other studio guests to them.
Okay.
But it's very much important we don't talk about this bill, but for ordinary salon posse they listen. Go one for know the benefits of this bill and some of the provisions. Is start for mention the child pornography.
Yeah. So part of the thing there, even before this day, every year the Ministry of Information and NATCOM they celebrate would observe Safer Internet Day because internet. ICT, they become a way of life for many people there. So that safety way they get now, nobody know they invade the privacy in real life. We want for law ensure so we get that kind of cyber hygiene. Now part of the provision that this law make. Right. Again, I just say this one. Musa don't ask a very important question. I think so we need to address.
Mr. Minister, we will come back to you. Go to the studio, guest them, engage them. Okay. Law can out to the lawyer Augustine Sui Sembemara. From where issues of this bill been start for come out after we Parliament we say the minister for can do consultation with stakeholders them. We see several activists them, including USEF, who different publication them. One of them now the 10 dangers of the Cybercrime Bill 2020. You list how this particular bill, if Parliament on and law, the dangers them ahead of citizens, media practitioners them, and other one them. From your point of view, you think say this particular bill Salon neither now? If yes, why?
So Khadija, before I answer that question, I just say Mina public interest lawyer. I don't represent any political party. I'm not a member of any political party. So now I don't represent any other interest apart from the people of Sierra Leone. So like every other Sierra Leonean, what see that bill be, my civic duty, I for read the bill. I left me on work where they get me living from, and scrutinize the bill. I'm aware that a lot of people at work Panda bill, give it to the Minister of Information for the work. But just looking at the bill, the structure, the form, I said to myself, this is dangerous, right? And we can hold conversation about whether it's timely or not. I think, as far as me concerned, the digital territory, they expand every day. And we get voices, we get people where they abuse them. So much as the internet exists for good, also exists for bad. We don't suicide people and they, share audios, them, videos, them, but several other things that were really, really bad. So I look at the bill and identify the dangers them. And I think, I want for really depart from what the minister talk, but say, this not to any bill we get for do with the media. The media exclusively. The media, as a matter of fact, then a significant stakeholder in this bill. Because waiting and all the international instruments with the minister Ifato, they always talk about cybercrime and data protection. So cybercrime not they come if data protection not they, right? Because what in cybercrime they do, they shrink that digital territory for citizens. And believe you me, the people that we really they use that digital space now as part of their work, as part of their trade, are journalists them, right? Now they really they use that digital space there. So once you come for regulate that space there, you get for pay adequate attention to journalists there, because journalists are not so like me where you go on Twitter and post and then go to court and then they pay me for me court's appearance. Journalists and they do this for living. It is their work. It is part of their responsibilities in a society. So if you want to shrink that space there, you get to pay attention to their own work, the protections that they deserve in doing their work. And for me, and I mentioned in my piece, throughout that bill, there's no mention of the right to freedom of expression. That right say for let journalists impart information. That right say for let journalists all information confidentially and disseminate information as well. So wetin fails spectacularly in my view now that this bill not strike that balance there between right and regulation. And as a human rights scholar, I've made this point severally that anytime we can to regulate rights, the right not for suffer after the regulation, the rights for continue for be supreme. So even when the regulation come, the regulation for take a secondary position to the right. But what me see from all my analysis in terms of how then they generate information, how then they study information, how then they conduct real-time collection of data, content recording, etc., etc. I see say they not strike that balance state. And I mean, the most troublesome part of that bill, that we continuously then say all the penalties the minister go determine them. And as a constitutional scholar also, I know say, for example, if you create offenses like Parent Act, that Parent Act also for contain the offenses.
Going through this bill, Mr. Mara, where you look at section 10 of the draft cyber bill, it talk about the interference with somebody in data or request calls from a communication company or SMS, so if you say we will probe into the investigations. Then when you go through the 1991 Constitution, section 15C, they talk about each Sierra Leonean gets rights for respect in private and family life. So the draft bill, section 10, and the section 15C of the 1991 Constitution, you see say them totally different. As a lawyer, if this bill, Parliament pass them, you think say the powers of the bill, section 10, go supersede that of section 15.
No, so Khadija, in human rights law, we get rights away, we call absolute rights. Then rights and you need pull pan them. So, for example, the rights to life, even though we get death penalty in Sierra Leone, but me, as a human rights scholar, I go say rights to life absolute under no circumstances. In fact, that makes self give credits to these governments and previous governments. Where I know see there's a moratorium on capital punishment, for example. But so we can to privacy rights, for example. Then your privacy rights can be interfered with in certain circumstances. For example, you said again for protect the rights of others, right? So I don't think say by merely having those provisions in section 10 go merely don't interfere with your rights. Waiting we want for C, right? Now that if they can interfere with your privacy rights, then forget also laws them where they protect them privacy rights and they. Because then rights and not absolute. Freedom of expression are absolute. Feel like freedom of movement in absolute. So government can kind of pass coffee order. But then for pass coffee order legitimately and in the public interest, so then can strike them balance then they. So waiting me not don't see na the bill now how they ensure say this privacy rights where they can reduce, because whenever they come for regulated they reduce we rights. So when they reduce we rights, we get for ensure say we get adequate protection. Now then protection then they no exist. Right. For example, I mentioned say when they collect them data, who side then they store them? How then they store them? Do we have the infrastructure? And somebody say, oh, no longer they act force. We will go create infrastructure. I say, no, that's dangerous because you can't harvest people and data where you not get infrastructure for keep them, for maintain sanctity and integrity.
All right, continue for the week in the program. Lawyer Augustine Soyisembe Mara. Today in the program, we look at the draft cybercrime bill 2020. So we continue with the program. Good morning, Salon, where they come to you from the Society for Radio Democracy 98.1 FM. We where they bring the program come to you this Thursday morning. My name is Khadija Bangura.
And Mina Musa Eskamara.
We still get the Secretary General for the Sierra Leone Association of Journalists na the program with we in Asmi Uba. And this BNTM Asmi UBC Usai after when I get a meeting with the minister. Una been pull a press release, so say una been update member them na the media fraternity, but waiting come out na the engagement. And one thing we, according to the president for SLAJ, it states clear in disappointment why the ministry not involved them from the initial stage where they draft this bill before they can go to parliament. Now, as an association where they look after the welfare of journalists them, and we look at the various sections them na this particular bill they talk about again for the journalists them. First, we want to make up of the entire bill where the ministry can go to parliament.
Good morning, Kaja, and good morning, people of Sierra Leone. Make I establish, say, SLAJ not averse to this kind of bill, and because the aim of the bill now for maintain law and order in the cyber world. I think it was Aristotle who once said, man's life without government will be nasty, poor, brutish, and short.
Absolutely.
Imagine a society where law and order no dey. Like how the minister said, the cyberspace is another world on its own, and you need law and order for regulate the behavior and conduct of the human beings. And because a human being, they make use of the cyberspace. So SLAJ not against the existence or the promulgation of that law. So let people understand that. And also, we are not coming from the background of say, we condemn entirely or condemn totally the act. No, we are not against it, and we not condemn and totally. There are gray areas where we say need to be brushed, need to be smoothed, so that once the bill come out, it will meet the taste of every Sierra Leonean, and people will appreciate it and say, okay, this bill, the existence of them, now for maintain sanity and now the cyberspace. Because if you look at what is happening now in the cyber world, take for example in Sierra Leone, you look at things the way they go on, it's not pleasing, it's very unpleasant. And no citizen no go one foresee such thing for continue. Yes, we need law. We for regulate for guide the behavior and conduct of people in the cyberspace. So I think I need to make that clarification, because Boku people only say, waiting at SLAJ your own business by this. Well, the answer to that question is SLAJ gets a business because it's one, it get for affect some of we members them, and also like the people are not even aware about the content of this. So normally it is said, ignorance of the law is no excuse. But the question I'll also ask, those who make these laws, do they normally go out to teach people about the law? No. Most often they don't. So if people do not know the law, and look at this side by the minister said, young people, and for example, they make use of smartphones. We are the ones who are very active on social media. And then therefore be the one that most times we therefore be affected by this law, Khadija.
It's where you look at some of the popular opinion them, where don't they come out of this law. One, most people believe, say, if Parliament pass this particular bill, it go seize freedom of people. And we all see how SLAJ done the lobby for a very long time for repeal Section 5 of the Public Order Act, and then they don't happen. SLAJ be don't win that fight there, and now they feel say journalists they safe for do their work. SLAJ self get the same opinion of the people out there.
Well, in terms of opinion, SLAJ not totally form an opinion. It's because yesterday we summoned an emergency general meeting where we one of the items on the agenda have been this issue. We want for update with membership about the meeting we'll get with the Ministry of Information, and also waiting for be the next step. And SLAJ is blessed to have in its midst journalists there. We also get some legal background, and also we get with international partners there. When this thing happened, we don't receive calls from them. So we decided to say, okay, as an association, we know we just come follow the crowd, follow the voices, and they shout all over the place. SLAJ is an institution. We need to do things in a very proper and decent manner. So what did we decide for them? For call with membership them, to go this issue on the floor, and people will come out with various suggestions. One of the suggestions that we people can come with now that let we send this matter to a small committee, for example, we comprise of we colleagues them, we get some legal background, and also with international partners them, make them give we an efficient advice, an advice where we say, okay, once and don't give it advice, we as an association of the executive also, we get the liberty for say, okay, yes, this advice we don't give it so, it prudent, it in the interest of membership, we they go with them. Or no, this advice I don't give you. So if we go with them, you know they're in the interest of membership, we know they go with them. So we get that freedom. But for now, we not form a total opinion on it, because we don't give the task to them people and they make them go through the bill page by page, just like what happened with the Public Order Act. We assemble people and we go through and page by page, we list down with concerns and we make our comments. We presented that to the Minister of Information, and in been see reason and accept some of the things that we've been come out with. And at that same method we want for employ also this time, because we not go one for just join the crowd and shout. When we say sometimes we not even know exactly what's in the spirit of this law, because like I said, the essence of any law in a society now for maintain decorum, for protect the citizens. So if you can't get a law now with some people, they say this law, they also infringe upon the rights of citizens. As an association, we need for SIDOM and take a deep look at them so that once we come out, our opinion will be, we points will be informed, not by our emotions, but something very rational and something very logical.
Now, Sludge, they go on with engagement. The Ministry of Information, they go on with engagement for sensitize people about this bill. From the minister yesterday, or then they be for Abbey College, the engaged students when they do mass communications. How una self go ensure say all the things they are so according to you on the list go put them together and send them to the ministry for let una self all una own consultation with them.
Well, I'm sure say the ministry not go advance to the comments because once Parliament say we not go out and do more consultation and sensitization, one, they know say but people not aware about this bill. Two, they know say the content but people get problem with them. Maybe in a lack of understanding or lack of misconception. So once we don't get anything, they take for example the bill give endless powers to the minister, where they say the minister and for prescribe, and we don't think that is right. The minister is here, but I think with due respect to him, being as somebody who liberal and somebody go on for see good governance, and officer himself go on for get a law, we go tell him say now for prescribe. You can't be the judge. And if we say that the law for prescribe say if you do A, B, and C and D, now this will be the punishment. But for can't say the minister now him for prescribe, you see don't now information minister now you build and prescribe. Now let's happen say somebody will be not get an issue with the minister, fall foul of the law, and you give that kind of power to the minister. What do you expect? The minister is a human being. So instead of going for pay that person in new coin, so for prevent that one day, we got one of the suggestions we will come up for say. No, that is not the way to go. Make the law prescribe, make the act prescribe, say, if somebody does A, B, C, and D, this should be the law, not the minister prescribing. And also, one issue will get wait and say a police officer. I think there should be a rank. You just can't left hand open one like that. You go say, for example, a sergeant for go enter and search somebody home. No, if we say there should, just like for example the IMC Act say, if them for close down a radio station, we not get a license. An officer, I think, either for be an ASP or so. So meaning not all police officer get that kind of power. So we also say that now one lacuna where the act for address, get a police officer with a particular rank where them for give that power. Another issue people also get concerned with is the issue of saying the person need for go to the courts and seek the opinion of the judge. Most times that is going to be abused.
Okay, Mr. Ba, in the area of the minister deciding or determining what should happen, what's in our suggestion in that regard?
What happen like how?
Like where you say the minister and they determined the kind of punishment or any other thing possibly go against anything. What's in the Unayon suggestion? That
we own suggestion. The framers also for SIDOM and prescribe a particular offense. Well, not so we as large you can say that this forbid the offense, but we feel say no more that power should not be given to the minister, not to the minister for prescribe.
Okay.
Not to the minister for prescribe.
Don't bring me in.
No, Mr. Minister, Lord just bring you in during the stage where una be the draft this bill. I believe say the legal people them go they come back to you with consultation of the thing they were supposed for the day. You see this particular I will give you so much power.
Oh no, me no want them so much powers. I don't think say any minister of information before or after me forget that powers. We now the first set of people there. The draft instructions where that one not be needed. And the wisdom or otherwise or the law officers now them put on the we don't write
but
to
before you carry on parliament,
we don't write to parliament officially.
Yes. Before you take the bill,
now make us say we don't write to parliament. We don't write to parliament. Say this minister, Mohamed Rahman Suare, no wonder overwhelming powers than they, and no minister after me forget her. Just like I share this view to not so. West Large engage me. I tell them right there, say, look, me no want them powers and they as minister, city minister, and every after me, no minister don't forget them powers and they for they not the law. So we are making progress. We don't get no dissension over that. We don't advise. The other issue again where it raised, somebody, will just say police officer. That is progressive discussion. So now we talk about the bill. But I see other people there, we they talk bill, then the politics and they talk. This is about the heart and soul of digital governance, right? We get the digital transformation bill, we get various things in law then, we get the ICT policy, all lens in there. So this is not part of building the digital ecosystem. So a really, really good say, then progressive conversations here, they happen inside. My brother Sengbe talk and clearly say, section 10 where you refer to, normally, the normal thing they prevail right now nowadays. Unfortunately, whether you like it or not, and that is the civilized way for doing. That power they for obtain a warrant, a God forbid from a judge or somebody of that nature. You can't go to Kamo Brahma, you can't go to Pasima or Paco Brabai. Now the most competent person now where they go to. This is to ensure that one police not will just grab and go to somebody who say they investigate one this. You have to go through them processes. So this is part of respecting the fundamental rights of people there.
All right, Mr. Minister, continue for the with me inside the program. The program is still listening to a Good Morning Saloon, 8:15 at the time from Mr. Control Clock. We'll go for short break. We'll continue the program.
UTB, Union Trust Bank, the game changer don't come. As we the lead, others they follow. And just with your mobile phone, you will transfer and receive money with ease, speed, and safety. UTB don't make it possible for collect money na ATM machine without the ATM card. Now that we call cardless ATM. You, the UTB customer, go send money to anybody and the person can collect the money na any UTB ATM panel without any ATM card. All it can do now for just enter the reference code and collect the money. The UTB copper in safe day. With this UTB copper, any UTB customer can transfer copper with a mobile phone to anybody up to 5 billion loans. And with the reference code, the person can go to any UTB branch and collect the copper. Union Trust Bank, we there for you.
Continue with the program. Good morning, Salon, where they come to you from the Society for Radio Democracy 98.1 FM. Send me text message on 077-981-981, or if they're watching our Facebook page, drop your comments. They ask you question on anything where you want for ask concerning issues they discussed at the program this morning. Well, earlier now we headline the hotel and say we will give updates about the fire incident will be yesterday na Mabela na the Susans Bay community. Well, now we get a reporter Kabia where they na the community now for giving update as to how they tell like this morning after yesterday fire incident. Good morning and welcome to the program. Good morning, Salon. Hello. Hello, good morning. All right, so they try forget, Kabia, where they now na the Susans Bay community, as people remember yesterday, fire incidents be happen there. Outside people house and property them been spoiled. Well, for know how the community tell like this morning, Kabia they na the community for Kangiwi update as to how they look like this morning after yesterday fire incident. All right, we still try forget Kabia na the phone for let it go give you update. But waiting they happen at the Susans Bay community this morning. Well, when they come back in our studio, as they look at issues them way come out na the proposed cybercrime bill 2020 where the minister been going in Parliament. Mr. Minister, earlier you don't state clearly say you don't want them powers then they where the bill being given and on be right to Parliament. So yes. Now after we Parliament don't say back like can do consultation. If you go back na Parliament during the committee reading, you go support the member of Parliament then for pull this particular section of the bill.
Maybe not right to them, not to support. Now me don't initiator. Yeah, I don't want them powers and for safeguard rights. Then you might have a bad minister of information and communications in future. If he send text message, say, for example, to a girlfriend, if he not married, or he send to my wife now, if not bad faith, he say, hey, you don't commit cyber offense. We don't want to let that in the minister hand. Let it in the law. This is a very progressive legislation. I'm happy to say everybody in the studio see the need for them. Law not get cut pants down. They will get cut pants down last time. We get the cocaine haste now. So, like I've been saying, this legislation it make a lot of provisions. I mean, enough might not be enough. It make a lot of provisions for safeguards against abuse and protection of data. If you look at section 5, 6, 7, and 8, so reading a lawyer, check and back 5, 6, 7, and 8, enough safeguards there for data protection. Even the police officers in the execution of your warrant, Yeah, if you misuse her, use a prescription there for punishment under this law. This is not the law. You don't look boku law then, you're a lawyer. This is not one of the law that would make that kind of prescription.
So, Mr. Minister,
very progressive.
Mr. Minister, you don't get from Mr. Bad the concern where he is, and one way you say take in good faith the issue of the police officer during their consultations. During their consultations, that way you did get. What are the opinion of the public? What you think say for amend before this passed through?
Well, so the powers of the minister, that power they for commander minister in hand for prescribed punishment because na me force razor. Give this to me. Yeah, now me first razor, as soon as we receive the draft, yeah, a razor will duly inform the committee of legislations in the parliament. Right?
I think all for all you do first and good. So they continue with the program. Good morning, Salon, and we still there with studio guest there with we can now to lawyer Augustine Soyi Sembemara as himself now one party activist that will be raise concern where they talk about the cybercrime bill of 2020. Mr. Mara, you don't listen to the presentation of the minister where you don't make in defense as to why Salon need this particular law now. And then they're on consultation stage now, then they consult different stakeholders then. What do you think say exactly the ministry need for omit if they need for change anything in this particular bill?
I think, Khadija, don't make the points that the bill, as it is now, there are certain areas the way for want of a better language, I say they are dangerous. And I highlight the fact that we need sufficient data protection law for able to balance this need for regulate the digital territory. But also, and then that's very important, the fact that, for example, in country, we not get any electronic evidence rules, right? That's very significant because once you begin get digital evidence, by data, computer system, etc., you want rules where they govern how they are admitted in evidence in court. And the first list of the first issue I raise in that piece that Section 5 say when the police officer, whether he sees the evidence, whether he generates the evidence, then it in and of itself not exclude that evidence from being admitted in law. Right? So what they do, it shifts the burden on, for example, in Canada 98.1, and then can say, we investigate a certain issue, or things say, Khadija in telephone and computer, go get some certain data, then take up. But also in Section 5, they say the police, if the police officer believes, say, not only Khadija, I think say Mabel Sef, and Asma, and Musa, and Michael, you need to go back to the judge. Where there, it extend, it clamp down. So you go for Khadija in a court. Now Khadija, I tell the judge, and that's a very brilliant provision. And for me, that in a safeguard. The fact that the police get for go to judge and list all the circumstances before they are given an order for search and seizure. But when it comes to Khadija, the law say you don't need for go back to the judge and say, Musa Sef, I think say your phone or your computer. He say kin. And there's no limit to that. So you go come for Khadija and end up for take 25 mobile phones and 25 computers. So quite clearly, and that make I say it's a danger. So I can come, I not really they investigate Musa, but because I want to go to Asma, then I feel if I go and present Asma name before the judge go scrutinize me, etc. I can't use Musa, but once I can seize Musa in phone, I take Asma own. Because in your opinion, the opinion of the police officer, he suspects say Asma Sef in phone or Khadija or Mabel, then Sef them phones them and computer systems also gets something for doing the investigation. So there's always a need in order for let the police officer extend that search power there for let go back to the judge. Otherwise, it will become a own judge once he gets one authority. And then significantly, I make the points about electronic evidence. Because when you collect them, by that provision there, it means you can merely go tender and a court. The accused, let's say for example journalists, poor journalists, up and coming journalists, etc., were all team but you work in computer So in computer, not to any device where any other person gets. In computer, a means of livelihood. Once you seize that computer, they present them in evidence. Now, in here for show cause now why it should not be admitted. No. The prosecutor, now for show cause why that evidence they we don't seize should be admitted. So it place on an additional burden for place before the trial judge for convince and say this computer why don't go seize. Let it accept them in evidence. Now in for discharge that burden day. But by this provision now, we're gonna cut it a shift to the accused. The accused get a capacity there, he get a means there for call experts for come look at the evidence the way police don't generate. So significant lacuna then they now the bill rights. So and I dare say they are very, very dangerous.
Mr. Amara, they make mention, you still point at capacity issue.
Correct.
For implementation or the implementation of this bill. But when the minister they talk just now, they talk about the space, then get the space and get always, or they're always ready for ensure say they're able to get the requisite capacity for implement this bill or the provisions them that this bill will go don't come into law. You think say them for don't put them provisions in place before the implementation, or is it because
Correct.
as they go along they implement them?
Correct, Musa. So even when it comes to implementation, you get forget what they call legislative basis. So if for they in law, right? So the law now for provide and clearly say where you can collect them, how you for store them, where you get the evidence, how you for admit them, the additional burden. So not to implementation, they can give them what you know they not law. The law for clearly, because in criminal law,
Regulations, sir.
the
Regulations. That is why
Yes,
under
no,
all the law
no,
there,
Mr.
that
Minister,
is-
just
that
one-
will be proven. Sorry.
Can I finish, sir?
Sorry.
So in criminal law, one significant provision we'll get as lawyer now that's criminal law enough for be uncertain. It should be certain. In fact, na a violation of the accusing right if the law not certain. You get for guess the law. We get for wait for like regulation come for implement that law day. No, once you create crimes, once you establish say this now offense, the offense should be clear on how the evidence is generated, how this seizure process is done, and how that evidence is admitted. And mind you, I have made the point that we do not have an electronic evidence act or rules currently as we speak. So not to data protect.
There is Electronic Transaction Act, sir. There is. Go and read it. There is.
Mr. Minister, I think say you should say we appreciate the distinction between Electronic Transaction Act and Electronic Evidence Act, where they define the procedure, how they admit electronic evidence.
We will do that. Will be in the rules.
So that's why I say, Musa. Yes, that's why I say
submission.
they are very good. They are very good provisions. Now the act, I must admit, for example, with provisions that we get for do with protection of cyberspace. Really, in terms of all. Somebody mentioned, say, banks and say vulnerable to attacks. That's significant. We need protection. But we can't to right. We can't to how you they can infringe on me right, or how you they can reduce on me right. You get for make sure say all other legislative mechanisms in place. So they can pass cybercrime law. We get data protection law.
But
the
minister
get
just
electronic.
Mr. Mara, the minister just make mention of rules. We then go for big.
Sorry, rules.
You make mention of what they talk about, say, then they reduce on people their rights. Then it just make mention
Which
of
is not even
regulation.
necessarily true.
No. So I understand that point here about it can make regulations.
Yeah.
We get for do with those regulations, mind you, Khadija. Then regulations they get for be specific to the cybercrime law.
Absolutely.
What to me they talk about now the general electronic evidence rules. We not get anything, for example, we apply to every kind of law, whether it's a cybercrime law, whether it's a sexual offences act. We also make provision for offences the way you can commit through digital platforms really. So once we get the electronic evidence rules, we apply to all kind of law, then we don't set that stage there. So I think say, like when they say put the cat before the horse a little, that's what we see. right? And then significantly, you're just saying on WhatsApp now, I see the Secretary General of the bar, now he posts some message, say, then he invites people for comments, etc., form a committee for look at the bill. It speaks to also consultation, right? And then lawyer, then they pass them not for the Minister of Information or for a specific government. Then they pass them for the people of Sierra Leone. The people of Sierra Leone then deserve to have a voice. They deserve to have adequate representation. And that mamina Dove Court or that mamina McKinney or Bo Kenema no go get that kind of capacity where the Association of Journalists can get or bar association. So now we for represent them. Now we for say, Mr. Minister, a good say we don't need boku audio the way they go around, go cost people etc. etc. We need for protect people but equally so, what they protect people we need also for enhance the rights.
Somebody may they talk about if this particular bill turn law, it go lead to media capture. You self-subscribe to
yes,
that?
yes.
That's a very illiterate interpretation of this law.
Mr. Minister,
That's an absolutely illiterate
Mr.
interpretation
Minister,
of this
please
law.
hold on. Would they come to you?
Khadija,
Let me
if you read the last bullet of my piece, you get for do with the section we talk about cyber bullying. It's so extensive. So publication them, for example, where they annoy you, offensive, insulting.
Not as simple as that.
I mean, they use the word annoying. You know, so it's now
You are in love with annoying.
Yes,
and annoying,
annoying can get the broadest of connotation. So somebody mentioned to me, say, so for example, if I post something on Twitter, don't say like something where you post, you tag the Minister of Information and sometimes you tag President, and then the minister feel like, I'm annoyed by this.
All right.
So then it becomes a crime. And mind you, what we'll do will repeal part 5. Now that will say, okay, if journalists write something where defame you, etc., let them not jail them. Let them not criminalize defamation.
Right.
Let we provide civil remedies. So by this provision in the cybercrime, we merely don't resurrect part 5. Now in digital territory, where by the way now, even traditional media houses now they use newspapers, digital. So importantly, that provision they don't resurrect part 5.
These are very dangerous interpretations to use the word.
Make we come to Sludge now, the Salon Association of Journalists. Ask me you buy, you don't listen, kill it from you co-panelists, them don't make the submission. At this stage, waiting Sludge they expect from this bill.
Well, slightly expect the minister for keenly listen to the concerns of citizens, including Sludge, and also making no sense some of them concerns they are not born out of anything, just because like what Mara say, we are all Sierra Leoneans. Me and Tina Kabbalah, for example, no go get the capacity for analyze some of them critical issues there. So, and the journalists within Akurubola and self no get the ability for understand something. So, it takes us, the leadership, for example, for look at this thing critically and ensure say we represent the interests and the views of our colleagues. So, we want the minister for look at this thing not with emotion, but for look at it with a very critical and logical eye, so that whatever comes out, like what Mara say, if the public order act pull this, though you see another thing they can help people and say you get the tendency for bring to life waiting will be non bad, then you begin to ask you question now. You they give with this one.
So
and
looking at the
another,
issues, them, Mr. Ba, looking at the issues, them way this bill they talk about, and looking at waiting don't come out from part 5, Sludge self feel say if this bill turn law, the part 5 go resurrect back, just like within the lawyer make mention of?
Well, it go resurrect in a very subtle way.
Okay.
And at that we know one for lay happen. So now make we say all these gray areas must be brushed and cleaned so that waiting will come out. You know, will create any fear. You know, will create any concern. You know, will create any suspicion for say, hey, this is the way they do so now ambush the one for ambush the media. This is the way they do so now just a way for twist or for tie the media. You want to let the minister dispel that kind of notion and fear and concern people and get, because when they pass law, you will pass them sometimes in the future. Now you get for campaign. So when they pass it, you will pass it with your atto. You dey pass out with your conscience, with your mind. So now we want for appeal to the minister for they look at this with a very critical eye and let them listen to the concerns where people and on the race, for example, sludge. Like I say, with people who don't assemble, very soon they go give their opinion, we look at that opinion and study them, and make we own presentation also to the ministry, formally and tell and say, this is our concern, and we membership say, these are the apprehensions that we didn't get. So we want from now look at them.
Let ask you back the same question I asked Mr. Mara earlier. The issue we get for do with this particular bill get tendency for lead to media capture. And in journalism, if journalists say that particular word, they very scary. With sludge, not comfortable for even here, you say this bill getting tendency, didn't they?
Well, no media association go comfortable with that kind of thing. They follow you and say this thing get the tendency for capture your profession, for scare you. I mean, it's like telling the doctor, say this particular law where they come, go make even when they're in theater, certain things, and if you do and then go use it against them. So that's the same feeling where the journalists get, and that's the feeling where slud get as well. So now make us say, all these things need to be cleared. Also, yesterday we write to Parliament. We don't ask the Speaker and leadership of Parliament say make them extend that 2 weeks waiting so that make the consultation go be broader. I mean that 2 weeks there, in all fairness, is not enough. How? I mean, with all them critical issues, now look, bad situation, they come out, they say, let people inform a committee. If it's going to go happen inside 2 weeks, 2 weeks is not enough. So we appeal to Parliament also, make them extend that time there. The minister also make exercise some patience, let the consultation be broader and more people for be brought on board so that they will look at these things. So once it comes out, we will say, okay, it's going to be a win-win situation, you not target nobody, and all these things where people they misunderstand now or not understand, go don't be clear.
I love you, Mr. Minister. So we don't listen to various concern them from the lawyer and that of the Secretary General of Sludge. Initially, you been cargo this bill in Parliament for let them debate and turn and law. If the Speaker not been say go back and do consultation, it clearly shows say like the bill for don't turn law. All in gray area they are where they don't identify now the lawyers them, the stakeholder them like Sludge. If we just simply did at the law and left so.
No. Sorry, Apostle, what I expect. Like one word, dangerous. They don't do very dangerous interpretations of provisions of this law. May not a lawyer, but are smart enough as you don't have class with lawyer then. I'm a party there.
You said the dangerous interpretation.
Dangerous interpretation. For example, the bill very clear. It says something where detrimentally they affect the subject. Not to say we mentioned Itak, Khadija, Sierra Leone, President Bio will be 3 years on April 4th. That is Itaga. That does not detrimentally affect him. I mean, the law, dangerously self-serving interpretations, nice to really get the law. But again, it is what it is. So let's talk about the other thing. Somebody say a liking to the Public Order Act. That is such a big disservice, sorry. I mean, you're a lawyer. You clearly know, say, under Part 5 will just repeal. Yeah? Truth not to defense. Yeah? Now here we are talking about evidence. We are talking about this. We are talking about that. So that is one profound difference. Let's not confuse people there and misinform them. This will lead to the loss of public trust. You're a public spirited lawyer. You said so.
Why criminalize the provision?
Why criminalize
it?
Why? Which one?
Annoying, menacing.
No. So the section 36 where you talk about cyber squatting, not to lie they talk about. In fact, this is talking about protecting copyright. Right? Copyright. No. You mentioned squatting. You misinterpret squatting. I asked squatting not to lie they talk about.
Let's go to 35.
Okay, so let's forgive it to consider.
No, 35
so Mr.
mentioned.
No.
You mentioned particularly you said cyber squatting. Then we'll do this, that.
Mr. Suare, we look at the issues here. We don't get better team again.
Yeah.
And
so may they say Naya.
Yes.
This bill. Somebody they talk say sorry Naya talk say the data protection for don't come before this. This law get safeguards then. Yes, if we want to enrich the safeguards, we could do. There is no attempt here for infringe into people them personal rights and freedoms. Now that make them say even before you search, current criminal law provisions, and that's what they do. You go to a judge, then give warrant for let you go search and seize property then where they have an investigation. This law has not said anything different from that. In fact, what did this law go ahead for say police officer will grant a search warrant in the course of implementing that warrant, enforcing it, you misuse the powers, prescription they under the law for punish yourself.
So Mr. Minister, earlier
right?
the question
so
I ask you
now
that if Parliament not be don't send you and this law back, say go do consultation. Therefore, we just don't go ahead. Therefore, we just don't go ahead pass them to law with all them gray areas there.
Well, some of them gray areas, they really not able to
highlight.
stand up. I also want to encourage me people then. Sierra Leone are part of a big global community. Let the people that are talking I want to encourage them for let them read other legislations. Now Ghana, for example, we're now a model of a stable democracy. If you read the cyber security law, nobody not to complain about rights. Now the same provisions and the same provisions there. In fact, some of the fines there, all the debates and the ministry, they say, na Kenya, for example, na Ghana, na Tanzania, na them places.
So now we look at
No. Let done this. I also hear comments and somebody said the data protection law for Nigeria get data protection law in 2020, then get the cybercrime bill in 2015. 2015, I then get the cybercrime bill. 2020, I then get the data protection law. So there is no.
Before you
So,
get
Mr. Minister, then Mr. Mara earlier been asked about capacity, and you are sure say there is a capacity.
No.
And as we got this discussion along, people comment now that okay, operation na buy sim and use them left arm. Looking at this situation, and also somebody who is not based in salon commits
But there is a compulsory SIM registration process now. National Telecommunications they do that even before
we
now.
Don't see that they
Okay, somebody.
them, but
So an enforcement issue that one day. But the law day a good. What we can a part of the thing and now and then we will do. We had 3 pages of regulations throughout from when outcome exists. Now under this government we don't do 5 regulations. Recently we lay on the parliament in December a go to parliament, including compulsory SIM legislation. So talking about the other thing, somebody sit down some side and this other you question. Well, cybercrime normally people that already commit then they sit down at the comfort and convenience of other jurisdictions. So now then they make this law make provision for international cooperation. So that in case you get somebody who don't commit grave egregious offenses, to quote that word, you can able cooperate with the other country for make sure say that person they either face trial there under the same law there or when able to do extradition now.
Quickly,
So
Mr.
all the
Minister,
issues
we
they
wrap
need
up the
to-
program now. All the issues there, so we don't discuss and we're able to identify inside the bill this morning. After this particular bill come out from the drafters, then the law officers department, you be really get time for sit down and watch the issues then page by page before you can go parliament.
Well, you know, my people that will know me, know some a very, very rigorous and thorough person. Because I'm rigorous and thorough, now that make I pick up, for example, the issue around the powers of the minister. Then not also forget me not a lawyer. I mean, there are things I will see. There are others who I need other pairs of eyes for look at for me. Yeah. So this is what is happening. I like the debate. I welcome her, but now look at the law. This is not politics. This is to ensure the safety of users there in digital space. That scaremongering, say, oh, they are taking away your rights. It's all scaremongering. It's a very dangerous interpretation of this law. To quote my good old friend, sorry, nobody not intend for clawback. In fact, if anything, you have to credit this regime. You have to credit President Bill as being the only leader in this country. We don't give the biggest rights to media, and we cannot take it back by any means.
Thank you very much, Mr. Minister of Information and Communication, Mohamed Rahman Soare, where you come to the program this morning, can talk about the cybercrime bill. And also, the lawyer will be there with me at the studio, Augustine Sowisembe Mara. Thank you very much. You have been come and raise your concern, them where you feel say make this particular bill, according to you, very dangerous. And the Secretary General of SLAJ, Asmi Uba, thank you very much. Where you have come to the studio and make SLAJ position very clear. Now they end the program. Good morning, Salon. Michael Sambola and Alex Ores Kuman and them produce the program. DJ Lava and Engi with technical support. Moses Kavora and Usman Kamara and they make una watch we live now Facebook page. Mina Khadija Bangura they say get yourself a wonderful day.
And Musa Eskamara they say bye bye.